Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about how to deploy web application to Kubernetes using GitHub Actions CI/CD, Docker, DockerHub and ArgoCD. So here in this video we will walk you through setting up a CI/CD pipeline for Kubernetes using GitHub, GitHub Actions and ArgoCD. Deploy to Kubernetes using GitHub Actions CI/CD, Docker, DockerHub and ArgoCD. Following GitOps best practices by separating the application source code and Kubernetes configuration into two separate GitHub repositories. So in this modern software development, CI/CD pipelines are essential for automating the software delivery process. Kubernetes, with its powerful orchestration and container management capabilities, is widely used for deploying applications. Combined with GitHub for source code management, GitHub Actions for CI/CD automation, and ArgoCD for continuous deployment with GitOps practices, you can set up a robust and efficient CI/CD pipelines. So here, so these are the things which we are going to discuss first. So first one is the prerequisites. Next, overview of GitHub Actions, CI/CD pipeline with ArgoCD and Kubernetes. So after that, we'll discuss about GitHub Actions, CI/CD workflow, and then we will deploy to Kubernetes using GitHub Actions, CI/CD, Docker, DockerHub, and ArgoCD. So these are the steps for that, and then security considerations, and then the conclusion. So here you can see this is the process which we are going to follow now. We'll take the application source code, and after taking that, we'll build an image by using the GitHub Action Workflow 1, and then it will be sent to the container repository, which is DockerHub, and then Kubernetes manifest will be updated by using GitHub Action Workflow 2, and then ArgoCD sync will be done. So which is ArgoCD pull-based deployment. So let's go for the process here. First here, the prerequisites are a Kubernetes cluster, kubectl, GitHub account, DockerHub, ArgoCD. So first, the overview of GitHub Actions, CI/CD pipeline with ArgoCD and Kubernetes. Here, Kubernetes is an open source container orchestration platform for automating the deployment, scaling, and management of containerized applications. ArgoCD is a declarative GitOps continuous delivery tool for Kubernetes for that automates the deployment of application. GitHub Actions is a tool for automation workflows within GitHub repositories. It supports CI/CD pipelines and can be customized to run multiple steps, including building, testing, and deploying code. So here, continuous delivery versus continuous deployment. The difference is continuous delivery means it ensures that your application can be released at any time by automatically pushing code through different stages until it's ready for production. Continuous deployment means it automatically deploys code changes to production once they are ready. So let's see the GitHub Actions CI/CD workflow here. First, GitHub Actions workflow 1. So this workflow is triggered when there are changes in application source code repository by a push, PR, or commit. It builds the Docker container, runs tests, and pushes the image to a Docker repository. So this workflow will trigger workflow 2 with the image tag as input, which I'll show you later. So GitHub Actions workflow 2C, which is CD. So here, workflow 2 takes the newly built Docker image tag, updates the Kubernetes deployment manifest, and pushes it to the application or Kubernetes configuration repository. So here, ArgoCD detects the change, pulls the update, and redeploys the applications to the cluster. Yeah, and also, ArgoCD monitors the application or Kubernetes configuration repository for changes. Once it detects the updated Docker image in the Kubernetes manifest, it deploys the new version to the cluster. So first, in the step 1, let's install the ArgoCD on Kubernetes cluster. So I'm going to use this command. So by using this command, a namespace which is called as ArgoCD will be created, and then ArgoCD will be installed, and let's access by using the port forward. So here, I'll remove the port forward first. Let's install the ArgoCD. So it is done. So if we check here, so here you can see ArgoCD namespace is created. So now let's check for the pods. So here you can see ArgoCD is being created. After all the containers get created, we can access the ArgoCD. So some are running and some are still initializing. So let's wait for them. So here you can see only one left here. So here you can see all the pods are running. So now let's access the ArgoCD here. So for that, we'll use the port forwarding. Here I'll use the port number 8888. Wait a second. So here you can see all the traffic is going to the port number 8888. Now let's access the ArgoCD here and take the public address. So here click on advanced and click on proceed. Here you can see ArgoCD. Here the username is admin, and for the password we have to use a command here. So we'll take another one here. So here by using this command we'll get the password. So this is the password. So here I'll use this password here. Click on enter. So here you can see we can access the ArgoCD application here. So ArgoCD is done. Now let's set up the GitHub repositories. So we need two repositories here. First one is the application source code repository. So it contains the application code. And the second one is the application or Kubernetes configuration repository. So it contains Kubernetes manifests like Helm customization files. So first we'll clone or set up repositories. So for setting up repositories, it will take time. Here I already have these two repositories, which is Node app, which contains the source code, and also the Kubernetes configuration repository. So let me go to my GitHub. So here, this is my application source code where I'm using a Node.js app. So here you can see, this is the Node.js application. So here, this is the package.json file. Here you can see, this is the Docker file. So here I'm using the .github workflows. So this is the workflow one. Where I'm using the ca.yml. Here you can see. So here you have to give your DockerHub username token and also the path which is of GitHub. So Here I'll be using this repository, and also here you can see ArgoCD node app configuration. So this is the Kubernetes configuration repository. So here I have the .github workflow here, which is the workflow 2. So here I have the deployment and service.ymls. You can see, and this is my DockerHub's image, and this is the service.yml. So here you can see this is the application.yml. So here I give my repository URL. So sit here. So what I'll do here means I'll clone the configuration repository here. So let's go to the configuration. So now cloning is done. Now let's configure ArgoCD for deployment. So in the application, let's configure the ArgoCD. So by using this command, we'll go into the repository. So now we can update the repo URL to match your repository and deploy it with using this command. So now what I'll do means I'll show you the repository first. So here the application.yml and the deployment and service.yml is present here. So now I'll apply the application.yml. So here you can see application got created. So if you see the application.yml here, you can see namespace will be created, which is called as node app. So let's check that first. So it's still creating. Here you can see the namespace, which is called node app, is created. Now let's check for the pods whether they created or not in the ArgoCD itself. Here you can see the application got created. Here you can see the pods are healthy, and here you can see 2 pods are running already. So it is showing the healthy status. The sync is also okay. So now here let's set up the GitHub Actions workflows. So here GitHub Actions will handle both CI and CD processes both. So you will need to create 2 workflows in your application repository and also the Kubernetes configuration repository. So in the workflow 1, which is CI, this workflow will be triggered by code changes, pull requests, or manual triggers. So it builds the Docker image, tags it, and pushes it to a container registry, which is DockerHub. And I'll show the tag here once. Is it? So here in the node app, in the deployment.yml, here you can see in the image, the tag is 10. So after using the workflows, this tag will be changed. Like after using the workflow, this tag 10 will be changed to 11, which I'll show you. So here in the workflow 2, this which is CD, this workflow is triggered by the successful completion of workflow 1. It updates the Kubernetes deployment manifest in the Kubernetes configuration repository with the new Docker image tag, which I said just now. So now let's add secrets for DockerHub and GitHub Actions. So here I already added them. So here in the application source code repository, go to settings, go to secrets and variables. Here go to actions. Here you can see I give 3 repository secrets. First one is DockerHub token. Here you have to give the token, not the password of your DockerHub. And then you have to give the DockerHub username and then pat, which is a GitHub token. So in the place of this path, you have to give your GitHub token. So after giving this, also in the configuration repository, in the settings, secrets and variables, actions, you have to give the path here also. So after giving the secrets, in the next step we have to trigger the CI/CD pipeline here. So in the workflow one, after triggering, it will modify the application code, which is change string, and commit it to the Node app repository. This will trigger workflow one, which builds the Docker image and pushes it to DockerHub. So let's trigger the workflow one first, which is CI. Let's go to GitHub. So here in the Node app, go to the actions. Here already gave the workflow. So I'll go to the actions. Here go to CI, click on run workflow. So click on this run workflow. So the CI workflow will be run. You can see the workflow will start in few seconds. So here you can see the workflow is started. So I'll go to my Docker Hub. So in the repository, here you can see the tag 11 is created. The previous tag was 10. So now the tag 11 is updated. Here you can see a few seconds ago. So here, let me check the workflow. So here you can see the CA is done. Here you can see, which is of 1 minute ago. Now, if you see here, the workflow 2 is also started. Here you can see now, like 13 seconds ago. So I'll explain the theory first here. So after triggering workflow 1, after the completion, the workflow 2 will be triggered automatically, which you see just now. So it updates the Kubernetes manifest with the new Docker image tag. This change will be committed to the Kubernetes configuration repository. So here in the Kubernetes configuration repository, the image tag is done. So in the Node app, if you go to the, sorry, not here, the configuration repository in the code, if you go to the deployment.yml file, here you can see the image tag is changed to 11. So previously it was 10, now it changed to 11. So the image is updated. So here ArgoCD will then detect the change by default every 3 minutes, pull the latest changes and deploy the new image to the Kubernetes cluster. So ArgoCD will detect the change and update the web application. So here, I think to see the, so it will take some time here. So you saw the process now. So now in the step 7, CI/CD flow in GitHub Actions. Once everything is set up, you can test your application by accessing via port forwarding to access the Kubernetes service. So here, you see, sorry, here you can see this is the Node app service. So here I'll use the port forwarding. So here you can see the traffic is forwarding to the port number 8080. Now let's access the web application here. We'll copy the public address. and we give the port number as 8080. So here you can see our web application is running, which is all a Kubernetes customized. So this is how to use all these things. So everything is running normally. So here, this is the process. Now the security considerations are access. First one is the access control. Here you can control access to the application source code and Kubernetes configuration repositories separately. For example, developers may only have access to the application repository, while DevOps teams handle the Kubernetes configurations. So the second one is the secrets management. So ensure sensitive data like DockerHub credentials and GitHub tokens are managed as secrets in GitHub Actions. So in the conclusions, the CI/CD pipeline using GitHub Actions and ArgoCD follows GitOps best practices by separating the application source code from its Kubernetes configurations. By leveraging continuous deployment and pull-based deployment strategies, you can ensure smooth and automated updates to Kubernetes applications. So this is the entire process. So this is about how to deploy Kubernetes using GitHub Actions, CAD, CI/CD, DockerHub, and ArgoCD. So here we covered all these things and the deployed the web applications. So that's it about today's video. So yeah, thank you.